Do you have wrist pain, elbow pain, shoulder pain, neck pain? Do you suffer from headaches? Is it from eye strain or from poor work ergonomics? Then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing with you 25 tips to look at to make sure that you have good work ergonomics. But before you follow any advice from any video, check with your healthcare provider to make sure it's appropriate for your specific condition. And hopefully that's one of us here at Drummond Chiropractic. So let's get into the 25 tips. Make sure you watch to the very end because the last one is the most important one. So the first tip is make sure your ears are over your shoulder. 2, keep your chin tucked in. If your chin juts out, this can put pressure on the nerves exiting the neck, causing numbness, tingling, or pain down your arms all the way to your fingers. 3 is to make sure your shoulders are over your hips and away from your ears. It's really important to keep your shoulders relaxed, back and down. 4 is keep your elbows at your side at 90 degrees. 5 is make sure the weight of your arms are supported. Arms get heavy throughout the day and can strain your neck over time, leading to neck pain. Number 6 is keep your wrist in a neutral position. And you may think this is neutral because it looks nice and straight, but actually cocking your wrist up slightly is the true neutral position. And when your wrist is in neutral, that keeps the carpal tunnel open, and the carpal tunnel is where the median nerve runs through, supplying this part of your hand and some of this finger. And if your wrist is cocked down, that's going to put pressure in that carpal tunnel, putting pressure on that nerve, leading to numbness, tingling, even weakness on this aspect of your hand, which we call carpal tunnel syndrome. So it's really important to keep that wrist in a true neutral, not in a perceived neutral position. 7 is find your neutral pelvis by tilting your pelvis back and forth until your back and pelvis feel neutral. You know you're in a neutral state when you're sitting on your sit bones. If your pelvis is too tucked in or jutting out too far, that's going to put aberrant pressure on your back, leading to back pain. My 9th tip is if sitting, make sure your hips are at 90 degrees. Do not sit cross-legged because it twists the pelvis, causing an additional strain to the spine. It also compresses the venous blood return, which potentially increases your risk of developing varicose veins. Tip 10 is if you keep a wallet or other items in your back pockets, make sure to take them out because they will cause a pelvic tilt that can throw your whole spine out of alignment over time, which can also lead to pain. Tip 11, if you're sitting, make sure your knees are at 90 degrees. If you're standing, don't lock your knees, but keep them nice and soft. Tip 12 is make sure your ankles are at 90 degrees and flat on the floor. If you're standing, make sure your feet are comfortably hip width apart. Tip 13 is kind of an interesting one. Make sure that your floor is flat. I have patients who have had chronic back pain only to find that their treatments were not lasting because the floor at their workstation was not level. They were holding their rolling chair in place all day. This strained their back muscles and constantly pulled their back out of alignment. Once we discovered this and they changed their workstation, they didn't have back pain anymore. Tip number 14, make sure your screen is tilted back about 15 degrees because your eyes like to look down, and you want your screen to be perpendicular to your line of sight. Tip 15, make sure the middle of your screen is in line with your line of sight. This usually means your screen is below the top of your head, depending on how big your screen is. Tip 16, make sure your screen is directly in front of you, that you are not turning your head to view your screen. It's a strain to keep your head slightly turned for a length of time. A good computer screen should be able to tilt and swivel. The surface should be reflection-free and blue light protected. And this leads us to tip number 17, and that is the best lighting for overall health. And believe it or not, simple incandescent light is the best light for overall health. Yes, they're less energy efficient than modern LED lighting, but they put off less blue light, so they're better for you. Tip number 18, make sure your keyboard is ergonomic. I personally like the keyboards that are split and tilted apart, but make sure you find a keyboard that feels good for your body type and typing style. Tip 19, get at least 2 mouse styles and switch between them at least once a day. This prevents using your hand the same way throughout the day. I have several types of mouse styles that I switch throughout the day as I use several different kinds of computers and they all have different mice. Tip 20, your desktop should be thin for maximum thigh space. with the keyboard in front of you. Give your thighs room to move. Tip 21, your phone should have an earpiece, so you're not encouraged to hold the phone between your ear and your shoulder as you type. This is terrible for your neck. Tip 22 is about your chair. It doesn't have to be expensive. What makes a chair the most expensive is the changeability of it. Just find a good chair that fits your unique needs. Make sure it has a 5-star base if it is mobile with wheels. Tip 23, have a window to look out of periodically to exercise your eyes. I have a whole video on the health of your eyes and how to improve your vision. If you do not have a window in your workspace, find a distant object and focus on it for a few seconds every time you leave your workstation. It's imperative for the health of your eyes to not just look near all the time. Tip 24, put office equipment like printers, phones, etc. out of reach so you have to get up to use them. This encourages you to get up throughout the day. And that leads us to the most important tip. Tip 25, move. Get something to ding at you every 15 minutes to remind you to get up and move. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be frequent. You don't have to go through a whole yoga series. You could wiggle your toes, roll your shoulders, draw the alphabet with your feet, march in place. There's all kinds of stretches you can do while you're seated at your desk, and at least every hour, get up and stand. It is so important for your joints to keep them moving. You could have the best posture ever, but if you're not moving, then your joints are literally starving for nutrients. We have a heart that pumps blood to the joint capsules of our joints, but there isn't a heart inside stirring that joint fluid. It literally needs movement to stir the joint fluid, and that is to bring the nutrients into the cells inside that repair the cartilage and replenish the joint fluid. So if you're not moving, these cells starve, and so you end up degenerating faster than you are regenerating, and this can lead to arthritis over time. So I can't stress enough the importance of movement. If you don't use it, you lose it. Again, I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, please let us know by clicking the like button. If you know anyone that this can be helpful to, please share it with them. And again, we would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And until next time, stay well.